Trish Toby with WARC reporting to you live from Westchester, New York, where there appears to be some sort of mutant menace on the loose.
Hey, I'm Pat Reber.
And I'm Matt Allcamp.
And say it with me, Steve.
Steve?
Pete. Say it with me, Pete. Welcome to Mutant Menace.
Whew. That's a good one. That
was a good one.
How you doing, Pat?
Matt, I'm good. I just got back from vacation.
An X-Men related vacation?
Well, sort of. Tragedy struck.
Oh, geez, what happened?
I got stung by a bee. It was in my shorts pocket.
Why'd you put it in there?
I didn't put it in there.
Why'd you get a bee in there to begin with?
I don't know how it got in there.
That feels like the mistake you made.
I mean, you're right about that. The mistake I made was letting a bee into my pocket.
I agree.
But not knowing that I had made that mistake, it stung, and I thought, this is just like the X-Men on vacation.
What's the lesson that you learned from this, though?
Don't pour soda in your pockets.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of ways you could have learned that lesson, though.
Kids.
Hey, do we have anything for Pat's email corner?
Oh, boy, Matt, we do. We're catching up from vacation, so I've actually got... Thank you for the music. We're going to hear first on Pat's email corner from someone I'm affectionately calling Email Michael.
Email Michael. I'm ready to hear it.
Email Michael says, "Hey, Pat, tell Matt that I also hate the guy who ripped off JoJo. If you remember the story about my old college acquaintance JoJo getting ripped off trying to sell somebody weed.
Fuck that guy. Not JoJo, but the guy who ripped JoJo off."
Thank you, Michael. Michael goes on to say, "I don't have a story about getting ripped off in any drug deals, and certainly none that involve the X-Men, but I could make something up about the tie." Then he goes on to do exactly that, to make something up. He reminds us, you never said the story had to be true. So
that's true. We should have been really clear about that.
Email Michael.
Do you have stories about being ripped? I don't have a story about being ripped off on drugs. One time I got sold drugs that were laced.
Ew.
But it wasn't, they must not have been laced very well because I didn't have really any effects. And I had a friend who bought a bag of Smarties that were supposed to be dosed with acid.
Okay.
And of course they weren't.
Of course the Smarties would dissolve.
I don't know what acid looks like or how it works, but I remember going to school and him having the Smarties and just eating the Smarties all day because there was an acid on them. But then some point during the day going, what if there is something on these though? And then having a panic attack. So
I have a novel's worth of stories about people I know that were selling pot and got ripped off. I never sold weed myself, so can't relate. Email Michael wrote into us a second time saying, "Hey, Pat, tell Matt he was right about both in medias res and esper not being pronounced like ESP in episode 14. It does mean person who does ESP, but it's pronounced the way he said.
I know.
As for in medias res, I always thought that was in media res myself, but I was wrong and Matt was right. Now, I wonder, Matt, if he, like I often do, has just fallen under your charismatic spell and is conceding that he's wrong just because you said he's wrong.
No, I'm right. The thing is, Pat, I'm right.
He provides a couple of Wikipedia links. I am not going to check them. But he does say I gave him a hard time after being wrong about 2 things in the last episode, but I'm not such a jerk as to not give him credit when he's right. I'm still a jerk, just not to that degree.
Well, I appreciate you telling me stuff I already knew.
Ooh, email Michael, really taking a beating in this one. Please,
No, I
we
love email
love your
Michael.
emails, Michael. As well as any other emails, Pat's email corner, you can write in at mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. It sounds like I'm wrapping it up, but I'm not. We have one more from listener Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Subject line: comics have never been political. I think that's meant in jest. Another excellent podcast and 2+ hours well spent. I think CRAP, C-R-A-P, is likely a reference to CRP, Nixon's Committee for the Re-election of the President. Creep, as it was commonly called. That was part of Watergate and also likely fitting to show up in Captain America right now.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And
yeah, actually, so I did some reading over the weekend and absolutely confirmed Steve Englehart, when that comic first dropped, was kind of forced to say, no, of course this isn't Richard Nixon. Of course I'm not portraying Richard Nixon committing suicide in the Oval Office. But then, as soon as the buzz died down, told everyone that he could that, yes, of course that was Richard Nixon. This was post-Watergate, pre-resignation, so it really was like the height of people just seeing government corruption on full display. So he was very proud to have written Richard Nixon committing suicide in the Oval Office.
It's so cool that he did that.
It is.
It's so cool.
We kind of dismissed Steve Englehart as a mediocre writer, but after a little more research, he is a backbone of Marvel. In the 70s, when they started getting away from their old standard crew, in came these hippies who loved psychedelics and grew up on like the weird science fiction concepts that Jack Kirby had come up with, and were just really about making the Marvel universe into this weird, fantastical, and satirical commentary on the world. So Steve Englehart, good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that's right. I don't know that makes Steve Englehart like a good writer, but it does make him a cool dude, and I'm glad he was part of Marvel.
You want to know one other interesting thing I learned in my reading, Matt?
Yeah, please.
Turns out, right around this time, maybe slightly later, there is a young Frank Miller looking to break into comics. And guess who took him on as his mentor at that time?
Len Wein.
Neil freaking Adams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Neil Adams was officially Frank Miller's...
thought you were building up to Steve Englehart, and that's why I was being a dick about it.
Oh, no. Just kind of, again, if we're going to confirm that you were right about something, let's confirm that I was also right about something. Mm-hmm. That Frank Miller took some cues directly from Neil Adams because
that's right.
He was being mentored by Neil Adams.
Is that time to end Pat's email corner, or do we got more?
Yeah, Jason has a few more comments. The one that I want to point out is, however, like you, I do find the X-Men appearances here lackluster and lethargic. It truly is the Dark Ages. And he also adds his name to the list of folks who might guest host our next episode. We have 3 now, Matt.
Well, Pat, it's definitely time to choose, right?
It sure is.
It is the time where this is the last episode before we're going to choose who joins us on that episode. If by the time you're hearing this, you have not gotten an email, you did not come up on our 6-sided die this time.
Yeah. If the episode comes out and you're not on it, then you will know.
I think by the time they listen to this, they'll know. But hey, maybe you skip an episode and then you see that there's an episode that you wanted to be on that you're not on. Listen, everybody who submitted their names, we are going to keep you in the rotation. We're going to keep you in the running, rather. And we'll just enter from now on. We'll just keep entering your names. And if you've stopped listening by that point, then we'll just sheepishly withdraw our invitation when you say, sorry, I don't know anything about it. So,
and we do listen. We would love to get back to every single person that writes into us. It's just we don't have the time with so many entries and so many emails.
Yeah, well,
work to do on the podcast
and all our vacations.
And if we select you, you'll definitely hear from us.
Well, that was Pat's email corner. Everybody's favorite segment and theme song.
That's true. Matt, let me ask you a question.
Okay, well, is this a personal question or is this a X-Men related question?
It could be either. It could be both.
Okay.
Matt, did you do anything X-Men related this week?
Well, no. I read some X-Men. Okay, so I remember I told you that I told the listeners I've been doing a personal X-Men read and I made it up to like 1989.
Yeah.
And then there's an Excalibur issue that requires reading all the way up to Power Pack number 60. And I stopped reading Power Pack way back when they crossed over with the X-Men for Mutant Massacre, I think. So I had like 30 some issues of Power Pack to read. So obviously that went very slowly because Power Pack is not good. It's not a good comic book. But I just caught up. So I'm going to be back to reading the X-Men.
All right.
Actually, there was some good. It's interesting. Very much like the X-Men, right before Power Pack gets canceled, it gets good.
Oh, that's a shame.
There's a series of issues written by Michael Higgins that are like legitimately good comics. So, you know, if you're ever interested in Power Pack, maybe read the first like 5 issues and the last 5 issues, and you're fine. How about you, Pat? Did you do anything? Well, you went on vacation.
Yeah, I went to the beach. Very X-Men-y.
They're always going to the beach.
I did a lot of reading, a la Hank McCoy.
Yeah, that's very X-Men related.
And is there an X-Man that loves skee-ball?
Maybe in some upcoming issues. I don't know. You know, here's something I did. I ate a lot of ice cream.
Oh, I did eat a lot of ice cream.
So we're both a lot like
Bobby Drake. What else? What does Warren love doing? I didn't lose any fights.
Did you take your shirt off?
I did take my shirt off a lot. I was at the beach.
He likes that. Were you shy around a girl?
No, I was just with my wife.
So you're not shy around her?
No, I'm not shy.
You're not worried. You're not worried that if you take your glasses off around her, you'll blow her face off.
I wasn't before. I did read some good comics. I read, so I went to a bunch of antique shops, and there's always that one that sells comic book stuff. So I got, for $5 each, I got 2 editions of Alan Moore's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And
cool.
I got one issue or the first book of Mark Millar's The Ultimates.
Had you never read those before?
I have read The Ultimates. I have not read any League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I do love Alan Moore, and holy cow.
What do you think? Yeah.
They're very good. They're very strange, but nobody knows how to let dialogue flow across and through each page like Alan Moore does. It's really pretty.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, it was very fun.
We are both on some coming off of a holiday weekend energy here, Pat.
That's right. We're recording on a Sunday afternoon, which is very unusual for us.
Sunday afternoon, the weekend of 4th of July. So both of us are probably a little sleepy.
We got the Sunday scaries.
Here's what'll pump us up. Pat, what if I tell you about Defenders number 15, Panic Beneath the Earth?
Yes!
Yes! So this is...
The Defenders.
I know. We are in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 4 years into the X-Men's cancellation, and they are puttering out, right? They went from popping up in Spider-Man and the Avengers to now they've been relegated to the Defenders.
Yeah, so they're not too far removed from the Captain America issues. We read them. This is a few months after they defeated the Secret Empire in Captain America, and Richard Nixon shot himself in the Oval Office.
So the Defenders actually is a pretty recent creation at Marvel. They were created in 1971, featuring Doctor Strange, Namor, and the Hulk. Apparently, this happened because Roy Thomas was writing Doctor Strange, I think, and he was in the middle of a story arc when Doctor Strange got canceled. And he was like, well, I have to finish the story somewhere. So he finished it across a Namor, like a Submariner book and a Hulk book. And then that created the Defenders. So at this point, the team is in flux. Recently, Namor left, being replaced by Nighthawk. Valkyrie, who joined in issue number 4, had apparently been discussing leaving for several issues. Silver Surfer joined in issue 2, but we don't see him. I don't know where. No, I don't know what his deal is. Hawkeye was around for a few issues. Right after what we're reading, Luke Cage joins. The only things that are otherwise that are important to us is that in the 1980s, the Beast will revamp the team, bringing on Angel, Iceman, and Candy Southern into the Defenders ranks.
I think the Defenders is a fun revolving door. It's a series that's all about what's too weird for the Avengers.
And apparently, yes, sometimes they're this ancillary. Sometimes they seem to even be like an Avengers reserve team. Like when Beast was running them, he had left the Avengers to corral a bunch of superheroes that weren't good enough to be in the Avengers.
It's great.
Yeah. So this one's number 15. It's written by Len Wein, who apparently only wrote the series for 7 issues. And so we're catching him in the middle of his very short run.
7 beautiful issues.
Art by Sal Buscema and Klaus Janson, who inked Frank Miller on The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, frequent Frank Miller collaborator.
Colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by John Costanza, and edited by Roy Thomas. We got Len Wein, Glynis Wein's husband.
Yes. Number 1, Glynis Wein apparently was coloring comics for a very long time at Marvel, and we're just seeing her name pop up now because they finally started giving colorists credit. Len Wein, holy cow, the inventor of Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Alan Moore. He, I don't know if you've read it, Matt, but his run on Swamp Thing, Len Wein's, is beautiful. He just really builds a world and a strange, vague enough consciousness to let Alan Moore run wild with it and do one of the greatest comic book runs of all time. It is
absolutely.
It's what got Alan Moore, a young Alan Moore, recognized and given the authority to do Watchmen. It is just
absolutely. If you haven't read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, you are doing yourself a disservice. It is just about as good as comics can be. Yeah.
And thanks in part to just Len Wein's really incredible creation of the character. He also creates...
if you say so.
Yeah,
if you say so. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you say so.
I love Len Wein. He is so fucking weird.
What I like about Len Wein is how much of a Marvel fan he is. Or just not even Marvel fan, how much of a comic book fan he is.
Yeah.
He clearly just loves it. Yeah.
All right. I'll let you... why don't you get to the recap already, Matt?
Released June 18th, 1974, the Defenders, Nighthawk, Doctor Strange, and Valkyrie, are at Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, chatting about Defender stuff. When Professor X cuts in telepathically, he tells them he has an important mission for him that he can't send them X-Men on because they're busy.
Right.
Do you know what they're busy with, Pat?
No idea. I don't think we touch on it.
No. Well, we haven't touched on it yet. So there's an editor's note that he sent them on a mission in Marvel Team Up number 23. So I flipped through Marvel Team Up number 23. It's an Iceman and the Human Torch story. And here's how we know the X-Men are on a mission. The X-Men show up. Cyclops blasts Iceman and Human Torch apart while they're fighting. And he says, Iceman, you've got to come home. We've got a big mission ahead of us. And Iceman's like, "Aw, but I'm playing with my friends." And they go, "You better be home by midnight because we got stuff to do." And then they get in their Rolls Royce and drive away.
So, this editor's note is just referring to a moment in the comic where the X-Men show up and say, "We've got a big secret mission."
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then they go home to go to sleep. Here's the thing about it. The X-Men then don't appear again until Giant-Sized X-Men #1. So that must be what Professor X is referencing here.
Yeah, whatever happens in Giant-Sized X-Men #1.
So, because the X-Men are busy, he asks the Defenders to meet him at Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, a very specific location. They fly there all the way from New York, summoning the Hulk on the way, and arrive within like an hour. They go into the caves where they're greeted by a big monster who seems impervious to Hulk's punches and to Valkyrie's sword, despite definitely physically interacting with all of them, like lifting up into the air and stuff. This is just one of Mastermind's illusions, as the Defenders find out when they're all electrocuted and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants steps out of the cave, led by Magneto.
What? Magneto?
Yeah, his Brotherhood this time is Blob, Mastermind, Eunice, and Lorelei.
Okay.
I don't know. He killed Toad.
He replaced Toad with Lorelei.
Like, he always needs one romantic interest on the team.
Yeah.
While the Defenders and Professor X are in magnetic stasis, Magneto gives them a "what I did on my summer vacation" report. Apparently, when the Avengers beat his ass, they put him in a bubble in the center of the Earth or something to nullify his magnetic powers. But a comet shifted the magnetic blah, blah, blah. He escaped and found an ancient civilization deep underground. He hung out there for a long time, reading their books and studying their machines until he found out some big secret. So he reorganized the Brotherhood, restored Lorelei, and now he's growing some ultimate mutant in a glass tube. Whew. That was the secret, by the way, the ultimate mutant. How to grow an ultimate mutant. He read a book by an ancient civilization that said how to grow the ultimate mutant in a glass tube. It was one of those little boxes. You know, you can subscribe to those boxes for kids, and they give them a science project every week.
Yeah.
Kiwi crate. Grow an ultimate mutant. Anyway, Professor X then uses the power of everyone's thoughts to break the stasis field, and they hop out and have a big fight.
Just to zoom in on this a little bit,
yeah.
Professor X says, "My thoughts are basically electricity. So is Magneto's magnetic powers. My thoughts can be increased if I connect with you all psychically and we all think of the same single thought.
If we think the same thing, our electric will be so strong that Magneto can't hold us."
Exactly. What was that single thought? They don't mention it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it'd have to be something you could really, really focus on.
It's got to be simple enough for the Hulk. Or actually, I'm sorry, they explain that the Hulk doesn't understand what's going on, so he's not included.
The narrator, like Len Wein says, Hulk is too stupid for this. Don't worry about him.
What are Nighthawk, Doctor Strange, Valkyrie, and Professor X all thinking about?
What do they all like so much? Mutant Menace pod at gmail.com.
Yeah.
The Defenders gain the upper hand against the Brotherhood and charge Magneto. But they're a moment too late because the Mutant Maker is ready, and out steps To Be Continued. Yeah. What do you think?
Matt, is this another realm beneath the earth, or
I don't know. I wonder, this is the exact same story of Grotesque's civilization, right?
Yes. Yeah, he comes to the remains of an ancient civilization.
That was super high tech.
Yeah.
But has been fallen into ruins.
and was known to enhance themselves, right?
Yes.
So yeah, this very well could have been, and Len Wein, being a huge comic book fan,
right,
would know of Grotesque's activities.
That was honestly, it was my first thought, but I mean, had we not just read that like a month ago, I would have just been like, oh,
Wouldn't have
cool,
made the
another
connection.
one of these guys.
Absolutely not.
Len Wein actually has these guys fucking down, I think. Like,
yeah,
Blob sounds like Blob, Eunice sounds like Eunice, and they don't just sound like generic thugs, right? Magneto sounds insane and ranting, but also like an ideologue.
Yeah. It's very in character, and also very sort of the base of the further characterization we're going to get from Magneto.
Right. I think there's a lot here. Like, I think that Len Wein sat down and thought, unlike maybe a Roy Thomas or a Mike Friedrich or something, I think Len Wein sat down and was like, what do these guys sound like? And what perspective are they coming at things from?
Yeah.
Like when Kyle Richmond calls himself the Boy Tycoon.
Calls himself Boy Tycoon. Kyle Richmond, Boy Tycoon.
Yeah, this is Nighthawk. It's like Valkyrie wants a place to store her horse, and he's like, don't worry, this is a job for Kyle Richmond, Boy Tycoon. You're a grown man.
Calling himself Boy Tycoon.
He also has like big fake wings on, and he shows us that they are just for show, and he hides a jetpack underneath them. And somehow the jetpack flies him all the way all the way from New York to New Mexico.
Can you not do that with a jetpack?
No, a jetpack can go like okay, let's look. The longest ever jetpack flight was 26 miles, and how long do you think it took him?
An hour.
You gotta raise that time by quite a bit, Patrick. 5 hours.
5 hours?
So I guess he's going 5 miles an hour. Yet Nighthawk somehow gets from New York City to Carlsbad Caverns. It was night. This is the thing that gets me. It was night outside, right? When the Defenders left the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York.
Okay.
It was still night outside when they got to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, which is, Pat, literally 2,000 miles away.
Okay. Well, they're on mountain time. So
okay,
factor in 2 hours for that.
You can add a couple hours. And nighttime is roughly what? In the summer, it's like 8 hours long. In the winter, it's like 11.
Yeah, sure.
So, okay, so if they left, it's a winter night. They left at 6 p.m. as soon as it got dark.
Buys him 13 hours.
So he has 13 hours to travel 2,000 miles. So 2,000 miles divided by 13, he would still have to be going 153 miles an hour, which is 30 times the world record for a jetpack.
That's got to be tough because he doesn't have anything covering the bottom half of his face.
So he's just inhaling
He's just wearing
bugs.
like a cowl. So yeah, and that hurts. If you've ever like stuck your arm out of the car on a highway going fast.
And I've never gone 153 miles an hour while a bug hit my lower face.
Me neither.
Interesting.
Here's the thing, Matt. How long do you think it would take Batman to get there with a jetpack?
Batman doesn't have a jetpack as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but if he created one with the purpose of getting from New York to New Mexico.
13 hours probably.
So Nighthawk, what you may not realize, I don't know if you know who Nighthawk is. He is just Batman. He comes from the Squadron Sinister, which were introduced as Avengers villains that were meant to be a direct parody of the Justice League. So Nighthawk is Batman. Hyperion is the Superman of the Marvel Universe. They have a Dr. Spectrum, who is just Green Lantern, and they have Whizzer, who is just a Flash.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
We're in sort of the wacky, fun phase of Marvel, and this was just like meant to be a joke in an Avengers comic where you can still take them seriously. But a couple of them were fairly popular. And so Nighthawk got looped into the Defenders.
And Hyperion, I think, also eventually becomes an Avenger at some point.
Yes. Yeah. Not to be confused with the other Superman of the Marvel Universe.
Sentry.
The Sentry, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
anyway, these guys come from Earth 712, Matt, which is apparently just a parody universe of the DC comic universe.
Well, I love Nighthawk. He really does a lot in this issue.
He says a lot.
Yeah, he really doesn't do much of anything at all. He calls butler and has him buy a horse farm. That's basically all he does.
He does also get used as a missile, an unconscious missile by Professor X. This is incredibly funny. They are both under Lorelei's spell. Professor X, because he has a more powerful mind, has enough juice left to resist it to the point of just flipping on Nighthawk's jetpack and sending him propelling straight into Lorelei to tackle her.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Pretty good,
Matt. But not quite as good as Defenders number 16. Alpha, the Ultimate Mutant.
Ooh.
Len Wein, writer, Sal Buscema, artist, M. Esposito, inker, Glynis Wein, colorist, C. Jetter, letterer, and Roy Thomas, editor. Release date July 16th, 1974. Cover date October 1974. Alpha, the Ultimate Mutant.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
That's what emerges from the glass tube that Magneto is creating. And his big force field is impervious to both bolts of bedevilment and ruby rays of Ragador.
No way is it
it's serious.
No way is it impervious to both.
Magneto, refusing Blob's suggestion to have Alpha kill everyone, traps the heroes by covering the exit in rocks and having Alpha teleport the Brotherhood away. Obviously, the Defenders immediately dig their way out and go chasing after him back to New York City.
I want to say we're using the term dig very loosely here. Hulk punches. Valkyrie hits the rocks with a sword.
Stabs. They fight. They fight the rocks.
Yeah, Doctor Strange uses his magic beams, and everyone else just watches.
Back in New York City, Magneto bursts into the United Nations building and takes the podium, demanding that all humans cede control of Earth over to all mutants. He loves the United Nations building.
He can't stay away. They even mention, they're like, oh, this guy's back.
Yeah, this guy again. When they say no, he has Alpha telekinetically lift the building up into the air. One guy falls into the hole that this creates and dies, I guess. The Defenders arrive, invisible to the crowds, thanks to Doctor Strange's magic, and they fly up to the floating UN tower where Magneto is telling everyone that he won't let them down until they give him a piece of paper that makes him ruler of everything. Very mature.
It's a very, very adult plan, very sophisticated plan.
Write it down.
I won't let you down until you write it down that I am your ruler.
He demands that Alpha fight off the Defenders, though Alpha begins to become more and more hesitant about the idea. Magneto tells him the Defenders are evil and so it's all good, but Professor X notices Alpha is also becoming more humanoid and his head is expanding. So he decides to try and reason with him, telling Alpha that Magneto is the evil one. So Alpha decides to read everyone's souls and determines that yes, Magneto is the evil one. He apologizes for everything he did, puts the UN building back, I guess if that man's not dead, he just crushed him and erases the whole thing from all the humans' minds. He determines that he's evolving at a ridiculous pace and doesn't belong on Earth, so he flies into space, leaving behind Magneto and the Brotherhood, who he has turned into crying little diaper babies. Literally, they're babies now, Matt. The end.
Okay. So, all right, first thing. I guess souls are real?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess soul. All right,
in the
souls are
Marvel
real.
universe, it is by now. I don't know if it had been established at this time, but it is well established that souls are real.
Yeah. Number 2.
Mm.
Len Wein keeps calling me Tiger. Was that in your issue?
Yes.
So he's calling everybody Tiger. So no matter who you are, when you read this, Len Wein is calling you a Tiger. I really wish he would stop. He did it a lot.
This might be Roy Thomas insisting as editor that it gets inserted here.
Yeah, he used to call us Tiger, and now Len Wein, Glynis Wein's husband, is calling us Tiger.
Len, this is great. You got to call him Tiger more.
When
Len,
I was writing.
Matt, what is thoughts on this issue?
Oh, man. I love that when comic books have to establish that something's multicultural, they just do it. They do it by having a ton of people just yell things that are like cliches of their nationality. Like at one point, somebody yells, Gott in Himmel! And somebody else yells, by the eyes of Allah! Which is not a real expression.
Absolutely not.
No one says that. No one's ever said that. People could say things like, oh, we're all equal in the eyes of Allah. Or you will be judged in the eyes of Allah one day.
I feel like that's something that Doctor Strange would exclaim.
Well, fucking throughout... All right, there's another thing. Doctor Strange, it's like, does he have a quota? It's like, oh, I have to mention every magical entity every day, and I can only mention them once. So he has a whole Rolodex, and he's like, by the Vishanti, by the vapors of Valtor, by the shades of the Seraphim, all things he says in this issue. And in last issue, he yelled other things.
Yeah, I imagine he gets paid by the mention, but only once per day, right? The ad limits.
Right. It's like Golden Casino. What was the one where they were that online casino that was paying people to like tattoo their names on their faces and stuff?
Oh, right. But only once.
You can only do it once. How did you feel about this issue?
I fucking loved it. I think it was a little directionless, or not directionless, just seemed purposeless for a little while, and then Alpha, the Ultimate Mutant, transforms into a god, weighs everyone's souls on a cosmic scale, and then comes back and says, Magneto, you lied to me.
It's so like, this is such little kid stuff, which is what I love about it. Magneto holds the UN above everyone's heads and it's like, I'm not going to give this to you until you sign a piece of paper, all of you, saying I'm the god, ruler of Earth,
king of the world.
And he's just like holding a toy above their head so they can't reach it. And then Professor X and Magneto have an argument about who's the evil one. No, he's evil. No, he's the evil one. And then Alpha gets upset because Magneto lied to him. He's like, you lied to me? It's so...
And he turns the whole Brotherhood into babies.
So he turns them into babies! It is like Len Wein, Glynis Wein's husband, and Glynis Wein had a baby who wrote this story for them.
Just playing with their action figures.
Yeah, and they're hiding around the corner like, oh, this is good stuff.
Oh, I thought this was so much fun. It is just...
I think it's fun, yeah, for sure.
It's so weird. You start with Alpha, the ultimate mutant, being born. Is he a mutant? Is he a godling? Is he from a long dead alien race? These are all mentioned in the first 2 pages declaratively, as this is what he is.
Yeah.
And by the end, yes, he is all 3 of those.
Yeah,
things.
They say it again. Yeah.
He is a mutant. He is certainly a godling, and yeah, he came from a long dead alien race. He comes out as a newborn.
Yeah.
With the, like, he can walk. He looks sort of like a
giant baby.
A giant baby, and he can barely talk. He's like infant level because he evolves very quickly. Yeah. Charles Xavier commands the defenders to murder him. You have to kill him. You have to kill this baby. And then he starts using his power. He exponentially evolves each time he uses his power, which has a natural endpoint here. There's no way out of this story other than having him evolve his way off of Earth. Otherwise, this is going to be extremely unwranglable.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what he does. He just fucks off. He's like, Earth is pretty stupid now that I've evolved over the course of one day.
He is is he an interesting character, or is he just a bizarre character? Like, I'm having trouble.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And it is explored fully, but very quickly.
I think he comes back, though, right?
That would be sick. I would love to see him again in the future and see what's become of him.
I don't know if he ever appears in X-Men again, but I think he is I think he pops up in Marvel Comics sometimes.
Okay. I believe you.
What did you think about the Defenders? We haven't really run into these. Well, we've run into the Hulk a lot. I was just saying something ridiculous. Okay. We've run into the Hulk and Doctor Strange.
I think this is a very awkward teaming, right? These people don't seem to like each other, but they do respect each other's power, except for Nighthawk. They don't respect him.
Well, what is Nighthawk's power?
Narration, as far as I can tell.
No, Pat. He has shattering skill and agility.
Oh, right. And he's a boy tycoon.
Well, there's that moment where Valkyrie cries over the Hulk when she randomly decides he's dead. Okay, they punch their way out of a mountain. Then they have Hulk hold the mountain up so that they can all sneak through. And then the stuff that he's already holding starts crumbling and buries him for a second. And Valkyrie literally cries into Doctor Strange's shoulder as they all comfort each other because they're all sure Hulk is dead. And then the next page, he just walks out. And he's just like, oh, hey.
They truly don't know Hulk. Hulk is confused at their crying because he's like, what? It was... a mountain fell on top of me. That's
a mountain that I was just holding.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I do this all the time. You should have seen when I did it to Lorna Dane.
I think it makes it clear that these are like crocodile tears, right? They're just we lost a person that was on this little mishmash team. Should be crying for him. Yeah, I don't think that was sincere, but I do, and this is one of my favorite things about Hulk. I think Hulk considers each one of them a dear friend.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite form of Hulk, when he recognizes a friend. I think it's pure joy. It is childlike innocence.
Yeah. How do you feel about them all turning into babies at the end?
the babyhood of evil mutants.
This is actually this is a plot point that is going to come up in Magneto's greater story later on. Not just...
Oh, I can't wait.
It's going to come up again kind of soon, right? When it's just like, oh, how does he stop being a baby? If he ever does. But it's going to come up later in a very significant, globally significant way in the Marvel Universe.
Is he going to show up as a 12-year-old, but with the wisdom and experience of Magneto?
Well, I guess we'll have to find out.
I can't wait. It is a departure from the typical existentially terrifying endings they give these villains. And Doctor Strange says it himself, Alpha the Ultimate Mutant has given them all a second chance at life.
Yeah.
Wound them back to babyhood.
There's an interesting thing. Like, I know what happens to Magneto after this. And I know what the stories of these other characters are after this. But I don't know how they get from being turned to babies to those stories.
Well, I'm sure we will theorize about it.
The next time we see them. Yeah. It's very strange. But that is a part of all of these characters, Blob, Mastermind, Lorelei, Eunice, and Magneto's stories, is that one time they became babies again. Yeah.
Real quick, just because we didn't mention this, talking shit about Nighthawk, and I think it deserves mentioning. Number one, he does not help dig. Everybody digs except for Nighthawk.
Yeah.
Number two, he says Holy Hannah. He's a bad person.
Not ingratiating himself. Not ingratiating himself to Pat Reber. Hey, do you want me to tell you rather about Incredible Hulk number 180 and the Wind Howls Wendigo?
I do, Mac, but can you please skip over the boring stuff?
Okay, well, that's going to be... Hold on. All right. I cut it all out.
All right, let's go.
Released on July 2nd, 1974. Written by Len Wein, Glynis Wein's husband. Art by Herb Trimpe. Inked by Jack Abel. What?
Trimp, like shrimp?
It's Herb Trimpe?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Herb Trimpe.
Herb Shrimp.
Inked by Jack Abel, lettered by Artie Simek, colored by Glynis Wein, edited by Roy Thomas. All right, here's what happens in this issue. Hulk stuff. Then there's Hulk stuff, and there's more Hulk stuff. Then some Canadian military guy says he's going to mobilize Weapon X. Hulk fights dogs. The military says some stuff. A lady named Maria is summoning Hulk against the urging of some guy named George, but she's upset because her brother Paul ate human flesh and turned into the Wendigo, and she wants to save him by transferring the Wendigo into Hulk.
Gross.
She fucks up, so Hulk fights Wendigo for a while, but then, Pat, this is where the issue comes alive.
Ooh.
It's in the very last page. Someone off panel tells them to hold it. If they want to fight someone, why not try your luck against me? He says. That's a bat. What's your best Wolverine?
I'm doing Bo and Yang's voice, so
okay.
Why not try your luck against me?
A mysterious cowled figure in yellow and blue, bare arms and 3 metal claws extending from each of his hand, who calls himself the Wolverine!
Woo!
That was such a fucking boring issue. Hulk is so boring. Hulk is
what
such a boring...
entrance, though.
He's like, this comic's boring. I'm here now.
It's real wacky. I don't think it's boring in the same way. I mean, okay, about half of it is boring in the same way that other Hulk comics we've had to read have been boring, where it's just the Hulk, the military talking about the Hulk, and then the Hulk fighting a creature.
Yeah.
Then the other half is this strange mystic borrowed legend with its own in-universe lore.
Yeah, I enjoy... Well, I mean, besides it being clearly appropriative, I still enjoy it. I enjoy the idea of... I like the concept of Wendigo myth.
Yeah.
If people don't know, it's a legend that comes from several different Algonquian language Native American tribes across what's now Canada and across New England. It's basically a creature that possesses you if you eat human flesh. So you don't usually get this direct of a function in myth. But this is so very clearly the function is to reinforce the cannibalism taboo.
That's the added part to this, right?
No, eating
No.
human flesh is part of the original myth. But the added is that he looks big and hairy and furry and like a yeti. The original part is just if you eat human flesh, and again, this is a couple different myths from different Algonquian language tribes, but it is if you eat human flesh, you will be possessed by this evil creature, and it takes the form of it doesn't look. Again, it doesn't look like a big Sasquatch guy. It's more like pale and desiccated looking.
Okay.
Kind of similar to like a vampire or a revenant from, European mythology.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. But this one is Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
White Bigfoot.
It's hard to tell where that entered the frame. In its first appearance in colonial fiction appears to be in Algernon Blackwood's The Wendigo in 1910. Have you ever read Algernon Blackwood?
No.
He's a very descriptive, sort of like the same school of late Gothic horror writers as like H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
Very descriptive, builds his own myths or borrows his own myths. Likely this was appropriating the otherness of the Native American.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a creepy, scary savage in the northern woods, right? Like that kind of thing. It is a good, creepy story, though. Like, if you could put that aside, Algernon Blackwood's The Wendigo is a very good one. It's very creepy.
What does the myth say about it shouting its own name over and over again like a Pokemon?
Unfortunately, not much. What do you know about the creation of Wolverine?
Well, here he is. He just got invented.
Do you know how he came about?
You mentioned, I think it was last episode or the episode before, that Roy Thomas wanted to expand into the international market, and they did very well in Canada, so they needed a Canadian superhero. Yeah,
that's correct. And so,
sorry if I stole your thunder.
No. I wanted you to.
Testing to see if I'm paying attention.
No, Roy Thomas basically just said, I want a Canadian character, and he wanted him to be called Wolverine. And John Romita Sr. drew his original costume.
Ooh.
And then Len Wein kind of came up with this concept of, because he's a Wolverine, he's fast and he's fierce and he's mean and he's still a hero, but he's angry and he's like, what makes him a hero is his struggle to control his anger. The claws were supposed to be on the gloves. Those were supposed to be adamantium gloves with adamantium claws attached. They weren't supposed to be coming out of his actual body. And Herb Trimp also refused to take credit for Wolverine's design because of John Romita Sr. But they did invent Wolverine with the idea of bringing him into the X-Men if the X-Men International Team ever actually happened.
That's interesting, Matt, because across these 3 issues, there is no mention whatsoever of mutants.
Yeah, I mean, he was a mutant. He was supposed to be a mutant, but his mutant power was like he was able to take a hit from Hulk and jump around really fast. Like that was supposed to be his power, not the healing factor. The senses were there, and the speed and agility and resilience.
Yeah. But if you are an X-Men fan in July of 1974 and you pick this up because Hulk's just a very good selling title and there's no X-Men comics to read, you have no idea what this is setting up.
Right, exactly. You must be very shocked when this 2-bit Hulk character just suddenly shows up in the new X-Men.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting into it now.
And it wasn't even supposed to be Len Wein that wrote that X-Men team. It was supposed to be Mike Friedrich.
Oh.
He was supposed to come back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
Anything else?
You missed out on a lot of money. No, because this story was boring. That's why all I'm doing is giving you background that I know. And this story sucked.
Should we move on to Incredible Hulk number 181? And now, the Wolverine.
No, one more thing. No, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Written by Len Wein, penciled by Herb Trimp, inked by Jack Abel, Christy Scheel, colorist. No idea who that is. Artie Simek, letterer. Of course I know who that is. And Roy Thomas, editor. Release date July 30th, 1974. Cover date November 1974. This mysterious The Wolverine leaps into battle, explaining that the Canadian government has sent him to take out Hulk. But even with his adamantium claws, Wolverine is unable to slice through Hulk's skin, so instead, he turns his attention to the Wendigo. Wendigo is simply no match for the Wolverine and starts getting his ass beat. Hulk sees this and mistakes it as an offer of friendship from Wolverine, jumping back into the fight with joy. It is adorable.
Poor guy.
They team up and Wolverine eventually stabs Wendigo to death.
Yeah.
Don't worry, though. Wendigo is actually immortal. There's a very fun Comics Code Authority moment here where Wendigo is pure white, and they explain that he's defeated by Wolverine just slicing the shit out of him and eventually doing the classic double hand stab through the chest.
Yeah.
He does not have a drop of blood on him because they are not allowed to show that.
Yeah.
Basking in the glory of the fight, Hulk still doesn't understand that Wolverine is not his friend and catches a sucker punch to the face. They fight a bunch, seemingly to a stalemate, while the Canadian government watches from a tower and worries about their Weapon X. Meanwhile, Marie and Georges have dragged Wendigo's corpse into a cave. Despite Georges' objections, Marie is trying to cast...
I think it's
Georges.
I think
Georges.
it's George. Okay.
Like more than one George.
Okay. You think it's George, but that's hey, look. This is your recap to read.
What country are we in? Canada or France, Matt?
Well, we're in Quebec. Okay, yeah.
Marie is trying to cast a subjugation spell on the Hulk to transfer the Wendigo curse from her brother into him. She calls it magic, but it just creates knockout gas that knocks out the Hulk and Wolverine while they fight. But when the Hulk transforms unconscious back into Robert Bruce Banner, Georges finally puts his foot down about casting a curse on a fellow man and wanders off deeper into the cave. Marie tries to handle the magic ritual herself, but when RBB comes to and transforms back into the Hulk, Robert Bruce Banner. RBB comes to and transforms back into the Hulk, who is hurt by Marie's betrayal when he sees what's happening. Instead of attacking her, though, he goes straight for the Wolverine, and the scrap resumes. After some back and forth, Hulk returns Wolverine's cheap shot from earlier in the issue and manages to knock him unconscious. He now turns his attention back to Marie, who has run back into the cave. He finds Marie standing next to a new Wendigo. Georges sacrificed himself and took on Marie's brother's Wendigo curse. He confesses his love for Marie before losing what's left of his human consciousness and running off into the woods. Marie is devastated. Instead of seeking revenge, the Hulk feels empathy for her and puts a reassuring hand on her shoulder.
It's actually a pretty good story.
It is.
It's not... It could have been told better. This is not Len Wein at his best. Hulk is just... yeah?
I thought the pacing here was really incredible. And like Wolverine is super chatty here, which I think they flesh out as they evolve his character. But the story they tell and the way that they pace it out between the fight with Wolverine, the Hulk, and Wendigo, and then the mystic stuff that Marie and Georges are trying to do, it's really so well balanced that when they come together, it makes perfect sense. And then you kind of just follow the story to its natural end.
I think maybe it's the just massive amounts of dialogue and narration that get me here.
Yeah, it's wordy.
Oh, okay. Do you want to know something else about Wolverine in this issue?
Yeah.
Len Wein intended him to be a teenager.
No way.
This Wolverine that we're reading is a teenager.
Makes a much longer case for my Bow and Yang for Wolverine campaign.
And it seems like through this, his primary trait is that he's fast. And at some point he says, you know how later it'll become a Wolverine thing? Like,
I'm the best at what I do, but what I do is not very nice.
Yeah, in this, he describes what that thing is in this issue, and he says it's moving. Moving is the thing that I do best, he says.
Moving is the thing that I do best. He's very agile, and yet there's no discussion of a healing factor. There's no discussion of an adamantium skeleton.
Though he does take a punch from the Hulk to the face.
That's true.
And while survives. He's lying on the ground. Yeah, and he's fine.
They do say anybody else this would have killed, but don't worry, Wolverine's okay.
Yeah, eventually that does make sense, right? In this issue, it was intended to be like, oh, he's super resilient.
Yeah, and agile enough to turn a killing blow into a glancing blow.
Right. But eventually this will make sense because he's got an adamantium skeleton, so the Hulk couldn't crush that. Like, he wouldn't have been able to crush Wolverine's brain.
Yeah,
protected by the skull. But any damage done to the other tissue would have been healed right away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it still fits, right? This counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this blew my mind, just knowing what we know about Wolverine to this point. It is, I think, fully established here. This is unbelievable how much this just tracks his entire trajectory as a character. The Canadian government is in a tower worrying about Weapon X, and they say, the government has spent a great deal of time, effort, and money developing that mutant's natural-born speed, strength, and savagery into the skills of a professional warrior. And despite the few kinks still remaining in his psychological makeup, I think we've done a pretty good job.
Pat, do you realize what you just said?
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Despite the time, effort, and money we've put into that, what?
Spent a great deal of time, effort, and money developing that mutant's natural-born speed, strength, and savagery into the skills
developing that mutant's natural-born speed, strength,
and
savagery.
You're right. They do drop the mutant fact here.
It's just weird that the narrator doesn't say it when the narrators always tell you when somebody's a mutant. Always, 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 always. Almost as if it's like problematic.
But I think there's some separate statements. The government has spent a great deal of time, effort, and money is a huge part of Wolverine's past.
Totally.
Natural-born speed, strength, and savagery. That is just who he is and what he draws from when he makes decisions. Into the skills of a professional warrior, which is, again, a huge base of his past. And despite the few kinks still remaining in his psychological makeup,
Wolverine's very kinky. He's really into S&M, bondage, foot stuff.
I think we've done a pretty good job. Is maybe the one that doesn't really define. I mean, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, well,
despite the kinks in his psychological makeup.
So here's the thing. I don't know why I do this. I did this with Red Raven, that Red Raven story too. I keep a secret from you and reveal it on the podcast. And I don't know why I do that. It's not like I don't know that it benefits us. But Pat, I have a secret.
What?
I watched the Hulk versus Wolverine cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Based on this. It's interesting.
It was made in like
2009. Yeah.
2009. Yeah.
They were doing like a whole Hulk versus series. This was the era when DC was kicking ass with its cartoons, and Marvel was like, hey, we want to kick ass with our cartoons. And they just kind of weren't as successful. But this one was good. So the Hulk versus Wolverine, it tells this story, but it starts with Wolverine out of costume, coordinating with the Canadian military. And it kind of draws a distinction between the Canadian military and the department, like the Weapon X program.
Yeah.
He goes out to fight Hulk. He wins. And then Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, Deadpool, and Omega Red show up on behalf of Weapon X to kidnap both the Hulk and Wolverine.
Okay.
Then it's like it starts to tell a little bit of like the Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X story, the origin of Wolverine. And then it's like a story about them escaping and beating up those other Weapon X mutants.
Weapon Xers.
Yeah. It's cute. It's kind of fun. It is a real mishmash of different X-Men stories altogether. But
check it out.
It's a very visually stunning representation of this story.
Yeah. I think I watched that a long time, probably close to when it came out.
I think I did too, because I recognized the last scene of that cartoon is Hulk and Wolverine leap towards each other to fight again, and then it cuts. And I was like, oh, I remember this.
Just like the end of Rocky 2.
Yeah, exactly. I think they were going off the Rocky 2 model. Hey, Pat, do you want me to tell you about the follow-up to this, Hulk number 182?
I guess only if you skip over the stuff that you find boring and I find absolutely fascinating.
All right, so Incredible Hulk number 182, called Who Cares? Written by Who Cares and drawn by Who Cares. Release date, Who Cares? Recap. Wolverine has failed. Wolverine has failed at stopping the Hulk in the 6 hours allotted to him, so the Canadian military is there to pick him up. He whines as he gets into a weird capsule and is pulled up into a helicopter. Then Hulk stuff happens for the rest of the issue. Boring. Who cares?
Absolutely incorrect. I'm sorry, Matt. And I'm not going to recap the whole thing, but the rest of this issue is nuts.
Okay. I didn't actually read it. I was like, I do not want to read Hulk stuff. I don't like this. In the Epic collection, it's not even there.
It's good. It doesn't belong. Nobody should go and read this. It is one of those comics that we read so you don't have to. Len Wein, in the opening page, is openly complaining about editorial decisions, saying they made me do these things. The Hulk befriends a racist caricature of a hobo named Crackajack Sam. He fights a pair of escaped convicts, which are racist caricatures in their own right, who are chained together because they escaped prison, but they find an alien that looks like a jack-o'-lantern that I have never seen before. I think he was made up for this moment.
He's got a jack-o'-lantern on his chest. He looks almost exactly like Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy.
Sure, but with a big, flat top to his extremely circular head.
Right,
like
but
circular, perfectly circular widthwise, perfectly flat on top.
But like a head that's too big for his, like Powdered Toast Man. It's very Powdered Toast Man.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. No idea where this guy comes from or why he's here, but he powers up the chain that links them to cut through stuff.
Huh?
He doesn't release them from their chains. He just powers the chain up, and then they spend the rest of the issue cutting through things together using their chain, and they try to do it to the Hulk. This all happens in one issue.
So this is like a new supervillain team is two escaped convicts.
So the escaped convicts
who are chained together, and their chain is super powered.
Yes, except the chained convicts are established low-level villains. That's the part that Len Wein is complaining about, being forced to include them in his Hulk story by the editors.
Who are they?
So one is Hammer and the other is Anvil. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% on which one's which, but I'm pretty sure Anvil is the white supremacist and Hammer is the militant, angry black man.
Cool.
Yeah. Really, really bizarre stuff.
Yeah, that is all very weird. It sounds racist in a couple different ways.
It's all very not racist in 1974, but racist now.
Yeah.
Let me say it, not considered racist by editorial in 1974,
Yeah.
but very much
Like that-
considered racist now.
The way that in the 1970s trying to be anti-racist usually meant you're doing something racist.
Yeah, exactly. Why do they have to suspend Wolverine in his own capsule? They make him get in this capsule and then they just keep it suspended from the bottom of the helicopter. Why don't they just let him in the helicopter?
I honestly can't. Yeah,
That's my only other note on this one. Do you want to move on to giant-sized Fantastic Four number 4, Madrox the Multiple Man?
Whoa.
Len Wein, writer/editor. Chris Claremont, co-writer. Jay Buscema, C-Stone, Jay Sonat, illustrators. Jay Costanza, letterer. Glynis Wein, colorist. I think that's because there's a couple of stories here, but we're just focusing on Madrox the Multiple Man. Release date November 19th, 1974. Cover date February 1975. Ben Grimm, also known as The Thing, is on his way to the Jets game with his girlfriend Alicia. Ben uses his powers to tear open the closed door of a train so they don't miss it, but is upset when the train has to come to a sudden stop because someone's on the tracks. The Thing goes to investigate, exiting through the hole he already ripped in the train, and sees a man in a strange green suit crackling with energy and calling himself Madrox. Madrox begs Ben for help. This angers Ben for some reason, who immediately announces that it's clobbering time. His clobbering doesn't have the intended effect on Madrox, though. Instead of reacting as if he was clobbered, he duplicates. The two Madroxes deliver a powerful punch, knocking the Thing off the train, but the Thing tosses a couple of trash cans back at them, knocking them off the train as well. This fall, as the narrator explains, should have killed them, as Ben knows.
He tried to murder this man!
He absolutely did. But instead, both of them duplicate again, 4 Madroxes. They beat Ben into unconsciousness, and when he comes to, he's back in the Baxter building being tended to by the Fantastic Four. Seemingly mad with rage, they all vow vengeance on Madrox and start hunting him.
Jesus Christ.
Meanwhile, Madrox is wandering the streets of New York, confused and alone, trying to recall through his madness how he got here. He first displayed this multiplying power in the delivery room when he was born, duplicating as soon as the doctor slapped him on his little baby behind. Mm-hmm. We learn that his father was a nuclear research scientist.
Of course.
Very strong implications there. And that his parents made him wear a special suit and never explained why before they were killed by a tornado.
Why is everybody's parents on Earth a nuclear scientist?
It was pretty big in the 50s, Matt.
There were hundreds of thousands of nuclear scientists. It was a country of nuclear scientists.
Suddenly, still wearing the suit that his parents gave him years after their death, it's explained a little later that he has not taken this thing off in 6 years. Suddenly, he's hit with a jolt of energy and driven mad, wandering alone to the biggest power source he could sense, which was New York City. From Kansas. He's wandering from Kansas to New York City.
The Windy City.
Back in the Fantastic Four headquarters, they realize his suit is drawing power from the electricity around him, just as they also discover that he's on the roof of their own building.
Whoa.
Johnny melts
Who's Johnny?
a hole. Johnny is the Human Torch.
Oh.
Johnny Storm. He melts a hole in the ceiling and rushes out to find Madrox, again, pleading for help. It's no use, though. Johnny is mad with rage and tries to set him on fire. Yeah. This hurts Madrox, but he returns with a punch that knocks Johnny senseless.
And Human Torch is surprised. He's like, I set him on fire, and now he's hurt? What is going on here?
The rest of the Fantastic Four show up, also rabid for vengeance, and in battling Madrox, force him to duplicate several times and absorb enough energy from the New York power grid to cause a blackout. They have no idea what to do with this guy, but they'll keep trying violence.
Yeah.
Until Professor X is beamed down from a helicopter. He explains that Madrox is a mutant and that he was friends. No further explanation. He explains
he
that
just shows up in a helicopter, beams down, and then because Madrox sucks away electricity, he starts falling midway through. And like, why does your helicopter have a tractor beam on it? This is anyway.
Professor X explains that Madrox is a mutant, that he was friends with Madrox's father. The Fantastic Four listen to Xavier, but don't really seem to hear him as they resort right back to trying to fight Madrox and then lose. Seeing the fruitlessness of this, Xavier concentrates as hard as he can, and he mentally disables, I'm pretty sure kills, all of the duplicates, leaving only the original Madrox. Once he's subdued, Xavier offers to take Madrox into his own care, hoping to treat his madness and train him to use his power. The Fantastic Four give themselves credit for a job well done for some reason. The end.
Oh, boy.
This is... So I don't even mention it in the recap, but the Invisible Woman is not here. It's Medusa is the fourth member of the Fantastic Four here.
Yeah, I don't know why we're not following the Fantastic Four. I don't know. Right. Everybody is acting fucking insane here.
The Fantastic Four are villains.
Why do they just keep attacking this poor guy? Yeah.
He's asking for, in every scene, he's just like, please, something's wrong with me. You're clearly different too. Can you please help me?
Right. And then when they attack him, he expresses confusion. He's like, wait, you're different just like me. Why are you fighting me? And then they keep doing it. So then he fights back.
Yeah, he gets mad. Like he only fights back after they upset him. James Madrox innocent.
James Madrox and Blob both innocent. This is our first taste of Chris Claremont's writing, and fuck, man, already instead of just saying the thing went to a sports game, he's like. Back in ancient Athens, they gathered in gladiatorial arenas to watch two men battle to the death. But today, they use a leather ball and call it football.
Matt, this is very similar to the outlook that you have on sports, I think. Even implies that the only reason they're there is because they actually want to kill each other.
Later on, when Thing fights Madrox a second time, he's like, in France they call it deja vu, a sensation that something has happened that you believe has happened before. It's like, no, the same thing literally is happening again. Christopher, don't do this.
I love this Chris Claremont impression. I hope that sticks around.
Love, Patrick, love, a feeling created by the god Eros that once was the greatest ambition of man and now used to describe your feelings for my simple impression.
He's got the Thing quoting Alfred Lord Tennyson in his own charming Brooklyn way. He says, yours ain't exactly the reason why, chum. It's very strange. Okay, here's something extremely troubling to me.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, in order to handle the duplicates, in order to get rid of them, you have to kill them. Like, Professor X is capable of just essentially shutting off their minds and shutting down all the functions of their bodies. They collapse and then they disappear. Okay?
Well,
follow me?
I don't... Okay, I'm listening, but I do have an argument against this.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Well, okay, so there is a panel where once they knock out Madrox, once Reed takes the suit apart and knocks Jamie Madrox unconscious,
yes.
The Thing says, since them dupes all vanished when Reed decked Madrox, so it was once Madrox got knocked unconscious that his dupes disappeared.
Okay, that doesn't make my next question better. What did they do with the duplicate newborn in the delivery room?
Well, maybe... Right, because who knows how long... Like, Madrox was not skilled in his powers, so he probably couldn't reabsorb it. First. Second of all, well, maybe he just... When... A baby doesn't go to sleep right away after it's born. So, you're right. There would have been maybe hours where there was just two babies.
Did they kill that baby? Were they, like, in those 2 hours, knowing Professor Xavier, did they get to the point where he was like, what if we try killing it?
At some point, somebody had to at least float that.
Yeah. Or what if we try knocking the baby unconscious?
Somebody hit this baby. Hey, anyone around who can hit a baby real good?
Knocking the duplicate baby unconscious appears to do nothing. Someone knock the original baby unconscious.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. It's a great... I love that image, and I love that it always comes back throughout the next, 50 years of Jamie Madrox in Marvel Comics. But I've never once thought of that. What happened to that? Do you think that at some point they tried pushing the babies together? Just pushing.
What if we can put this one back inside the other?
Like feeding it to him.
Oh, boy. Matt.
Yeah.
What do you think about this grouping of comics here?
Yeah, I don't even feel like... A lot of times at the end of an episode, endings are a thing created in ancient Greece when the storytellers needed to... At the end of episodes, we often talk about, like, here's like a miniature era, right? Here's what they were trying to say about the X-Men. And there was no X-Men in this episode.
Yeah. The only X-Man we see is Professor X, right? Who is only secretly an X-Man.
And even last episode, there was barely any X-Men, too. We are getting... Like, they are just slowing to a trickle here. They've lost all of it.
Yeah.
Nobody at Marvel is interested in these fucking characters. Which is crazy to think that in just, like, a year, they're going to become the biggest thing on Earth.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we are, 4 years removed from the cancellation of the X-Men. We are 2.5 years removed from the Beast story, and we haven't seen anything further from him after that. Mm-hmm. We get, if you're observational and you are reading through all of the Marvel titles, you'll see that, there's a mention that Wolverine is a mutant, this character, that this villain that popped up in Hulk, and Madrox, about a month later, pops up in an entirely different title and is a mutant. You know that mutants are still a presence.
Yeah, I'll say... I think this is later. Okay, so Beast shows up in a Marvel team-up issue in October of 1975, but that's after Giant Size X-Men #1, right?
I don't know, Matt. We'll have to find out by listening to the next episode of Mutant Menace.
I think that it is weird that based on that one issue, that Wolverine became such a big deal. There's nothing about reading that I'm like, ooh, I want to see more from this guy. He's got whiskers on his face.
Wait a second.
His costume has whiskers that come down along his mouth. And I think it's crazy that Multiple Man doesn't become a big deal. Nobody picks up Multiple Man for years.
Right. He's just he's a fascinating power, and they just kind of disappear him at the end of this comic. I don't love the implication that Professor X takes him back to the mansion and stores him in his weird experiment basement for years until he pops up again in the X-Men.
I know where I know where he goes right after this. I won't spoil it, but I know where Professor X and Madrox go the moment they leave Fantastic Four Tower.
Okay. Is it horrifying?
But it does feel very much, you're right, like they have taken Madrox
and juggernaut situation.
Put him in the basement. And, well, like, we didn't really know that Magneto got put in the center of the earth or whatever. We assumed he was in the basement. Where are these babies?
What did they do?
Professor X put those in the basement?
He's building a team.
It's wild that at this point, the X-Men are on a mission. And the X-Men have been gone for too long, which is what sets in motion the Giant Size X-Men #1, right? Mm-hmm. And it's wild that while Professor X is freaking out about this, he's running off to play with the Fantastic Four and the Defenders.
Yeah, it almost seems like he's trying to find a new team to lead. Like, he's like, you know what? I think I've got the X-Men on lock, especially now that there's so few of them. What if I picked up another team?
And they sent him away, and they don't seem to be coming back, so they're probably dead. I guess I'll go find some other...
This is time to pad out my resume.
How did you feel about this era?
So I keep trying to put myself in the mind of an X-Men fan at the time, and I don't love it. I am, and we talked about this at the top, I'm a big Len Wein fan, and I love the weird chances he takes. I love his sort of balance between silly and serious. I think he understands the characters that he's working with almost all the time. I think he really, we said it, he's a comic book fan. He is intimately familiar with the action figures that he's moving around on the board here.
Right.
But as an X-Men fan in 1974, I would say the X-Men are dead. I've got just Professor X showing up in places, and he doesn't even have the X-Men with him. There's a hint at an X-Men secret mission, but there's no sign to me that that's actually going to happen. This just seems like just as they have been doing for the last 4 years, they're biding time. They're just reminding you that the X-Men exist, and it doesn't seem like it's going to come to fruition.
Right, and like Beast is off doing his own thing, and no one's even following that. And Iceman, I guess, is teaming up with Spider-Man and the Human Torch. Oh, not Spider-Man, just the Human Torch. If it was Spider-Man, you would have made us read it.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't feel like anything is happening. It feels like those characters are absolutely dead. Yeah, it must be a bummer. And again, I wonder if there are X-Men fans at this point.
Yeah, or maybe they've accepted the fate and moved on.
Yeah. And become Defenders fans. Because that's the new weird team, right?
Yeah. The not quite Avengers.
All right. Well, before we end the dark era and we see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, do you have another Pat Steals and Deals for us?
I do, Matt. This one's going to take us a little darker.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. Today's Steals and Deals is found actually in Fantastic Four Giant Size #4.
Okay.
Stan the Man Lee presents with pardonable pride. Pardonable pride. The origins of Marvel Comics. This is the one 13 years in the making. If you so you can't see the visual right now. There's a picture of a book. You can see it, Matt. I'm talking to the listener, though.
Oh, I thought you were...
At last, it's here. A full-color 256-page volume on high-quality paper featuring the first and greatest adventures of Marvel's foremost superheroes. Thrill to the awesome origins, as well as other epic tales of the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange. All this plus never-before-revealed secrets behind the creation of your favorite superstars, as told by Smilin' Stan himself. The Marvel Age of Comics begins anew, and you are there. Cloth, $9.95. Paper, $5.95. Is cloth like a hardback edition?
I don't... Cloth?
Cloth. The cloth version.
The cloth version.
$9.95. Maybe that's like, you know how old hardcovers used to come with like
cloth
binding?
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. It had like a... Yeah. All right. I see. Yeah.
We are looking at...
I still don't see how this is darker.
We'll get there. First,
okay.
This is maybe a deal. The hardback would be about $30 in today's money, $9.95 in that time. Or sorry,
okay.
The paperback would be about $30. This is actually not a deal. I will explain to you how it's a steal, though. Do you know why this book got published, Matt, in 1975?
No.
Because Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and a few other creators who had signed their rights to all their creations to Marvel started to put together their legal teams and claim ownership of these characters. So in order to help bolster Marvel's case, Stan Lee wrote a book where he takes credit for creating all of these characters, and in his publicity tour continually tells reporters that he doesn't care that he doesn't get the rights to these characters. Like, he created all of them, and he's not complaining that he doesn't get merchandising rights or royalties for them.
And he's saying this before any of the others get out.
Right.
So that by the time when they come out and start talking about this, it's like, what? Why aren't you more like Stan?
Yeah. I mean, reportedly, Jack Kirby was very on the fence, right? He was a company guy. He appreciated his time at Marvel, no matter how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Even though at this time, DC's giving him full creator rights, he was really on the fence about trying to reclaim his old Captain America stuff. And this book, reportedly, is what drove him to say, okay, let's move forward with legal action, because this is also the point where Jack Kirby starts taking credit for creating Spider-Man, even though that's technically credited to Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. So this creates a huge mess. We're not going to touch on this stuff, I don't think, because we're going to continue reading Marvel Comics. And if you read too much into it, you don't want to read Marvel Comics anymore.
I want to say that it's interesting. This book contains the origins of the Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, the Hulk, Spider-Man, some random villains, Thor, Doctor Strange, Nick Fury, but it does not contain the X-Men.
Interesting.
Yeah, they are. So, I mean, just even more of a reason to think that those guys are just not part of Marvel Comics anymore. If you bought this, you'd be like, oh, yeah. These are the stable of characters that Marvel wants me to focus on.
Right, exactly. This is a big advertisement for Marvel Comics that you have to pay for.
Yeah. Hey, so Pat, I don't think I'm going to take this steal and deal.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's there for anyone who wants it.
It would be a little interesting to read this, I think.
To read Stan Lee's perspective, knowing what we know about how Stan Lee behaved.
And his lie, right? Like what you're saying, it's not just his perspective, he's lying.
Yeah. He's the mascot, not the... there's still a lot of... I don't think anything ever got clearly defined from this era.
Yeah.
But
he will go on to give more credit to those guys later on.
yeah.
But still not enough. And and it's creepy that this happened at all. It's, what was it Alan Moore said, that he couldn't write for the big two anymore because whenever he picked up a comic, all he saw was the long line of sad old men who had their lives stolen from them.
Yeah. Well, Jerry Siegel is like the famous example, right? He's a guy who co-created Superman and then bounced between DC and Marvel for the rest of his career, making like their league minimum or whatever.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Look.
It's the end of the dark era, baby.
This is the end of the dark era. Granted, in the Claremont era, we're going to have a lot to say about,
Ooh, it's going to get interesting.
Race and social politics.
Not to get political.
and identity. But we're going to have some more fun. We're about to have more fun. We're about to meet a whole new cast of characters. They're going to be fucking weird as hell. Yes. We might even meet a leprechaun or two. It's going to be it's going to be a fun ride.
Really, a leprechaun?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Wait. In the meantime, here's what you guys can do. You can write to Pat's email corner at mutantmenacepod@gmail.com.
Please.
You can check us out on Instagram. I have been slacking on getting video clips up because I was graduating school, but I am now a college graduate.
Woo.
Thanks, buddy. And I will, pretty soon get back to that. I probably will start back in episode 10 and go forward.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll see some old clips, some of my favorite moments of old episodes.
Go nuts.
In video clips. What else? Where else can they find us, Pat?
We don't really have any other online presence, Matt. You can find us on all podcasting platforms.
And rate and review us. Please,
yo, my God.
Please.
We're begging
and
you.
Share us on your social medias.
Big thanks to Krills Wilson for the opening theme. Big thanks to Julia Selly for providing the voice of Trish Tilby. And as we always say, to close out every episode, it's not funny, Jamie. It's special. A special suit for my special son.
And remember, is Rockman.
Who said that?